So guys, I wanted a better cooling solution for my CPU because I felt like a lot of my PUBG and Apex has been crashing due to cooling issues. So right now I have like a Cooler Master open air cooler, and I'll link below exactly what it is. But then I switched over to the Kraken NZXT. It's an AIO, like all-in-one water cooler, and I try to mount that onto my CPU. And I've tried to find a bunch of videos to see it mounted on my specific case, which is a Thermaltake P5 Core. And there's some videos and there's some instructions on it, but there's like janky ways of people mounting the radiators onto the actual case. So I wanted to try to find a way without having to buy special brackets, even though I did buy the brackets. So I wanted to see if these brackets are actually that imperative to have on the case to mount any radiator or SSD drives. So it comes with a pack of 3 and they're like on Amazon for $20. I'll put a link below in the description for you. But these are actually pretty cool. They're really well made and they seem like they are part of Thermaltake's product line. It as an addition. They're so modular. So even if you mount them, you can mount them in multiple ways on this mounting rack for radiator cooling and fan cooling. So you can mount them however you want. Vertical, I believe, and then also horizontal. But then they also have their own slots that you can actually mount whatever. If your SSD drive is too large or if your fan's oversized or whatever, it's super modular in that sense. I think it's still nice to have them if you already have bought them. I'll show you in this video how to get away without having to have these too as well. And then also I have a Zotac 1080 Ti that I want to cool as well. In this video, I actually take the AIO Kraken cooler and actually mount it on my GPU instead. I have a Zotac 1080 Ti Amp Extreme Core. I had to take it apart to get to the part where I can put the actual cooler onto the GPU chip itself. I watched a video from Gamers Nexus and he actually does a teardown of the Zotac 1080 Ti and he finds some flaws with VRAM cooling. I actually addressed that in this video. There's an NZXT GPU bracket that actually addresses that cooling issue specifically for my GPU, actually for this Zotac 1080 Ti, which is surprising, but I think it's meant for universal GPUs, but for some reason it works really well with my GPU and I get significant cooling, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll jump right into the video to show you exactly what I've been working on. So it's gonna keep focusing on my face, but I really wanted to show you this. A lot of people say that you have to like really side mount these AIOs by NZXT just so it would fit, or you'd have to get like these special brackets that I actually ordered just for the hell of it. But I ordered these brackets here, right? This is for the NZXT Kraken, but what it's supposed to do is give you some air gap basically where this mount area is supposed to be, but you can do it horizontally and then have the X72 kind of stand in your case. But this would just give you air gap if you wanted to get a little closer because of the tube length. It actually prevents you, the tube length prevents you from having it mounted over here. But I found out that if you follow the instructions, it wants you to mount the radiator first. That's why the actual tube length won't actually hit the CPU. But the trick is to reverse that. Mount the CPU first, and then what you can do is then extend your cord over, and then you can mount your NZX2 radiator with no problem at all, without any special mounts. And then you have the cooling here. This is actually a Thermaltake CORE P5 or P5 Core. Yeah, you can mount it just fine. You don't need any special brackets. You don't have to pay the extra $20 to have the brackets. And I just spent these $20 on this bracket for no reason. NZXT CORE P5, you can mount a full radiator NZXT pump right on the CPU, even without changing the hose. Again, so install the pump first, then install the radiator. That will give you enough clearance. Because if you try to install the radiator first, it's awkward to try to put the pump on. It really is. This way I just reversed it, reversed the instructions. I wish I could show you guys, but I'm not going to. I mean, it's pretty simple. I shouldn't have to show you. I shouldn't have to walk you through that. So what I'm going to do now is actually, I found out that my actual air cooler for my CPU actually is better than the NZXT radiator cooled Kraken situation. So I'm gonna put that back on my CPU and then actually use the Kraken to cool my Zotac 1080 Ti. And the reason, it is overkill, okay, it is overkill to have the X72, which is like the triple fan situation. But the reason why I'm doing that is because there's a lot of reviews on the Zotac 1080 Ti. Even though it's triple fan and large doesn't always mean better. And in this case, that really shines because the cooling is not the best. Even though it has tri-fan situation with like this whole built-in radiator right here, it's still not as cool as it should be. Since I already have this X72 Kraken NZXT, I'm just gonna go ahead and mount it onto this GPU using their bracket from NZXT. So I got some lights on now because my place is a mess, so I have some lights on now. But I did take the Zotac 1080 Ti apart, right? Even the back plate is off, and I'll tell you exactly why I took the back plate off as well. But it looks like the Kraken X72 can mount on here with no problem with the bracket kit. That is the Kraken G12 bracket kit that is meant for a GPU. So I did take the back plate off, and I'll tell you why here in a little bit. I might be able to get away with mounting the graphics card first before I actually put on this bracket. So let's see, but I have to remove this, but I have to slide my radiator down first before I can actually get it into position. So let's do that. So I ran into a little bit of, I want to simplify these brackets with the radiator. So what I'm going to do is actually mount these brackets to the radiator and then put the brackets into place. I know it's going to be a little bit heavier and a little bit more technical to do, but then this will kind of eliminate me trying to line up the radiator prior to these like trying to figure out where these brackets go and then trying to put the radiator in place with the brackets. So I'm just going to mount the brackets right to the radiator first. I went ahead and mounted the brackets onto the radiator, so then it'll eliminate the guessing game that I have to do for the back here. So I just got to make sure that that reaches, and then just got to make sure that this, yeah, this whole tube situation dangling, I mean the cooler itself dangling doesn't look ideal, but it's not going to hurt it. And also there's a lot more holes in the back of the radiator, so you can have up to 4 per bracket. I mean, you could have up to 8 per bracket, but I think that's a little overkill. This radiator is not that heavy. Yeah, see, this way I can just kind of squeeze it in there and figure out the holes. All right, so that should give us enough clearance to put this on. Boom, just like that, see? The only thing is that enough airspace? Yeah, that should be enough airspace. All right, it looks like everything is set up. Cables are still a little everywhere, but we want to test it first to see if this thing posts. All right, here's the shot. All right, looks like the Kraken's on. Power to GPU. Motherboard's posting. Let's see what we have on the screen here. Overclock only at 16%, which is fine. We'll overclock it a little bit more. We'll do a stress test a little here. Yeah, but it looks like everything's posted fine. So this is a pretty decent setup. These brackets really came in handy. I might put some alternative fans, or I might do a radiator push-pull because I have extra fans now too that I can work with. And then also mount these P5 AIO brackets that are sold separately by Thermaltake first onto the radiator, and then it'll give you more of a sense of where you want to put certain things. There's still less amount of screws in each of this stuff, but when I get the post right, when I get the setup and the tweaking right, then I'll go back and then do cord management and then do final tightening. But the thing is, I do want to essentially put another fan facing that direction to cool this down on this side too as well, just for the heck of it. So, but or I might do a pull situation, who knows? But they said that it's overkill to have a pull situation on this Coolmaster. But I'll do some tweaking, and then I'll do some overclocking. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And then we'll talk to you guys here in a little bit. So on the Syn bench test, you can really hear the Cooler Master really start to pull the fan. So it's a little louder than the liquid cooling when I had the liquid cooling on the CPU, but I think I'm getting actually better results with the Cooler Master, which is kind of weird. So I'll let you know the results here soon. So I ran into a few issues yesterday. For some reason, I had my GPU on the third PCIe slot, so it wasn't working properly. So I had to switch it to the first PCI slot. But then that doesn't look as cool because then the NZXT thing is under, but whatever, as long as it works. And now I'm running 3D Mark to test it, everything posted, everything booted. This is cool as hell. This Cooler Master cools better than this AIO liquid cooler for some odd reason. Maybe I didn't have the thermal paste on right, or maybe I didn't have it installed properly, but I switched the NZXT Kraken to my GPU, ripping my Zotac 1080 Ti apart to put on this AIO, and it actually sits at a crazy like 27 Celsius or something like that. So I'm running 3D Mark and it looks smoother than ever before. So I'm gonna let you know some of the results after this, but I think this gaming rig is ready. I don't think I need to go crazy on my CPU cooler at all, because this just open air cooler is doing the work. It's enough, it's doing justice. And also there was a huge problem with the Zotac 1080 Ti. It was actually, there wasn't a heat sink in the center where the VRAM was or something like that. So, but I'll give you more information here in a little bit. But there was no like heat sink pad or anything like that. So, but this NZXT actually has a second fan right here. You're not gonna be able to see that, but it has a fan that's actually blowing cool air into the VRAM as it's cooling with its cool pump. It's kind of cool, and I think it's a better cooling solution than what Zotac came out for the Zotac 1080 Ti Amp Extreme. And this setup should actually give me a lot of FPS. So Valley Benchmark and Heaven Benchmark for some reason kept on giving me an error. So you have to download the distributable visual package for the 86 and the 64. You have to download both. All right, here's the conclusion. Well, the reason why I took apart my Zotac 1080 Ti is because of Gamers Next's teardown of the actual GPU, and they found a lot of issues with the cooling solution. Like especially back here, there's no cooling pad for the VRAM. And then also they're saying that the backplate actually is nuking its own card. So that's why I removed the backplate and the fan situation and opted for an AOI cooling system directly to my GPU itself. So I address how you can fix the Valley benchmark and the Heaven benchmark. Make sure you download both 64 and the 86. You need both of those to get it functioning. So with the new cooling from NZXT directly onto my GPU, I'm getting like 27 Celsius. And when I ran a benchmark, it didn't go any higher than like 42 Celsius. And I'm getting scores of 6,700 range from Valley Benchmark itself. And before I was only getting 5,500. And I was able to GPU overclock to 70 megahertz stable. I really don't know what any of that actually means in like the MSI Afterburner, but I've just been watching other YouTube videos of people actually overclocking, and I was trying to find a stable solution for my CPU and GPU because of the silicon lottery situation. I know that there is a limitation to my actual hardware compared to someone else's. So I hope this video gave you a lot of information on the brackets, Valley benchmark, how to mount on a Thermaltake P5 core, the Zotac 1080 Ti, maybe information on the NZXT2 on a CPU and a GPU. So all of that. And guys, thanks again for watching. And if you want to see more videos of just like stupid tips, I mean, this is not a tech channel by any means or a PC build professional, whatever. It's just stuff that I can learn from other people, and I could probably find other solutions that people haven't found out how to solve when it comes to certain cases or certain GPUs or CPUs. And just through my time of doing this, I hope I can help you answer some of your questions you might have. So thanks again for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.